Every goalie wants a wider butterfly. It makes the game easier, it cuts down more net, and it just looks cool. It's a great asset, but how do we train for it? If you look online, there are a variety of methods to increase your butterfly flare, but in this video, I want to talk about my favorite ways that are more efficient in my opinion, and they will have a longer term impact. First, we need to understand hip internal rotation. So internal rotation is defined as the movement of a joint toward the midline of the body. So hip internal rotation is turning our femur, which is a bone of our thigh, towards the middle of our body while our foot goes away from the body. You might recognize this in many goalie movements such as acrobatic saves, the RVH, and of course the butterfly. The great news is that these exercises that we're going to talk about in this video will also help your ability to be in the RVH, which is something that a lot of goalies struggle with. Now, stretching can be helpful, but we're not going to really talk about that in this video. Instead, we're going to focus on methods that are a little bit more about your nervous system and include breathing and weight training to really lock in that new range of motion and make sure that you can maintain it for a long period of time. Stretching often gives you a short-term response, whereas proper breathing mechanics and learning to load a movement with weight training will really help to lock in that position and make sure you can hold it for the long term. Let's start with the first exercise, the 90-90 switch. To do this exercise, get in a 90-90 position like this one, where your left leg is in front at a 90-degree angle and your right leg is behind at a 90-degree angle. Keep the torso as still as possible, and we're going to lift the back heel as high as you can without lifting the knee off the ground or moving your upper body. Do that 10 times. On the last rep, hold it as high as you can for 10 seconds. Do the same thing for the other hip by switching the position so that your other leg is behind you. 10 reps and 10-second hold on the last rep, and you can do this for 2 sets for each leg. This exercise is going to look different for everybody. You'll see in that video that my foot didn't get that high off the ground. That's just because I don't do this exercise that often. If you do it consistently though, you'll find that you will increase your range of motion and that foot will get a little bit higher each time. The second exercise is internal rotation on the wall. So you lie on your back with your feet on the wall in a 90-90 position. To internally rotate your hips, you want your feet to be wider than your knees. So your feet on the wall are outside where your knees are. This will be different for everybody, so just do what you can and work on going wider over time. You might find it helpful to put something in between your knees to squeeze them together, like a foam roller or a towel. I actually really recommend doing this. It helps with the exercise. Pull down on the wall with your heels, not a push, but pull down so you activate your hamstrings, and make sure that your lower back is on the floor, very flat, like you're trying to squash a bug underneath your lower back. But you're slowly and slightly lifting your tailbone off the ground as if you're trying to slide a piece of paper underneath your tailbone. It's that slight of a movement. From this position, we squeeze the knees together gently and breathe. So you need full exhales, aiming for 6 to 10 seconds, whatever works for you, through the mouth. So you exhale through the mouth and then you do a silent inhale through your nose with your mouth closed. So the way this looks is you start with a full exhale out of your mouth, 6 to 10 seconds, pause for 2 seconds at the end of the exhale, and then do a quiet inhale through your nose with your mouth closed, making sure to expand your chest and your ribs out to the front, the side, and the back. Do this for 5 full reps and 2 sets. The main goal of this exercise is to accumulate time in this position, and it's very important that you're relaxed. If you're tense, if it's painful, if you're fighting the movement, your nervous system will not be happy. It will not get used to that position, and it won't allow you or let you be comfortable in that going forward. So the important thing is to breathe, be very relaxed, and you will get adjusted to this position, and it will improve your butterfly flare and your internal rotation. This last exercise is a hip hinge, and it's very powerful because it allows you to load up the movement and get stronger at the same time as we're building an increased range of motion. The hip socket, sometimes at the back, it is tight. There's a restriction because we're not used to stretching out the tissues at the back of the hip and the glute muscle. This can stop the femur from properly rotating in the hip socket, which is what we need for internal rotation. So this exercise is very helpful because it stretches those tissues at the back of the hip and it allows you to get into a better internal rotation position. Along with this, a hinge will build strength in the lower body, so it provides a ton of value, and that's why it's one of my favorite exercises for goalies. There are multiple hinge exercise variations, but I think you'll find this one helpful and easy to do. Your back leg is on the wall and your front leg knee is over the middle of that foot. So you want to aim the pocket of your back leg towards the pocket of the front leg, which just basically gets you to shift towards the front leg. And you need to think about moving your hips back in space as you do the hinge. So the hips are going back behind you. And then when you get down to the bottom part of the position of the movement, you push through your foot to come back to the top. If you do this right, and it takes some time to get it right, you should feel a stretch in the back of your hip. Some other helpful cues are to keep your face and neck relaxed, keep the pressure in your foot even, so not too much in the toes or in the heel, and try not to extend or arch your lower back too much. Like I said, this will take time. You probably won't feel it perfectly right away, but if you practice this exercise, you should really feel a stretch in the back of the hip, and that should open up some hip internal rotation for you. Do this for 2 sets of 8 to 10 reps for each leg, and you can add weight in your hand as you get better at the movement. If you're wondering how to put this on a routine, there are many ways. I can't give you personal advice. I don't know you, I don't know your situation. It depends on your experience, your strengths and weaknesses, as well as your hockey and training schedule. But there are 2 general ways that I would probably program this. You can do these exercises as their own workout, or you can add them after another workout or after you're on the ice. The only thing that really is important here is that you're doing these exercises about 2 to 3 times per week. You need to be consistent. I don't think 1 time a week will be enough, and you don't really need to do them 4 or 5 times a week. I think somewhere around 2 to 3 times a week is perfect for almost anybody. But like I said, this isn't individual advice. I can't tell you what exactly to do. These are just my thoughts on how I would go about improving hip internal rotation and trying to get a wider butterfly. As a disclaimer, this is not personal advice. I'm not a doctor. I'm not working with you directly one-on-one. So if you're experiencing pain in the butterfly or doing these exercises, stop doing these exercises, seek out a doctor, professional medical opinion, a physiotherapist, someone who you can work with directly, who can assess you and evaluate your situation and get you out of pain. There is no point doing these exercises if they cause pain. It will just stop any progress and it will make you just injured. So there's no sense in doing that. You don't always need a wide butterfly. It is a nice tool to have, but not every safe selection requires a wide butterfly. You need to be careful that you're not doing it all the time. There's just no sense in doing that. And it is a tool in your toolbox like anything else. I hope this video was helpful. Make sure you subscribe to the channel and check out the other videos we've done previously. And leave a comment if there's anything that you want me to address in future videos. And other than that, I will see you in the next video.